You know what time it is. It's time for our read aloud today, guys. And today it's chapter 10 of the first rule of punk. So if you remember, Malu had come home from her first rough day at school, and mom and her were kind of quarreling a little bit just because, her mom's kind of like, I told you so about wearing that makeup. Chapter 10. I made it my mission to avoid Selena as much as possible in the cafeteria, but it was like the fates conspired to bring us together in the worst possible place, Spanish class. There was one class for non-native speakers, and all the rest of the periods were for fluent speakers. I was surprised to find out I'd tested into the fluent class, since my Spanish sounded like it had been put in a blender and pulsed into a mess of sounds and letters. Selena's Spanish was, of course, perfecto. En español, señorita, Senor Asensio reminded a girl named Beatriz who had asked to go to the bathroom. She let out a dramatic sigh. ¿Puedo ir al baño, por favor? She asked. Sí, he said. Vaya, rapidamente. When class started, Senor Asensio explained that each would have to create a family tree and write a short essay to go with it for our first big assignment due on Monday. ¿Para cuándo, señorita O'Neill Morales? He asked me, trying to confirm the due date for the assignment. I sat up in my seat to answer, but before I could say anything, Selena interrupted. Senor Asensio, Maria Luisa no habla español. Some kids laughed, and I could feel my ears burn. Senor Asensio ignored Selena and asked the question again. Para el lunes, I said, through what felt like a mouthful of marbles. Muy bien, señorita O'Neill Morales. Senor Asensio read each word out loud as he wrote para el lunes on the board. Para cuando vengan sus padres. Great, the trees were going to be up at back to school night for everyone to see, including Selena and her judgy little eyes. I focused on finishing the workbook pages that were due by the end of class and placed them on Senor Asensio's desk. Back at my seat, I worked on a zine for the rest of the period. I was putting away my supplies when a hand snatched the zines from my desk. What's this? Selena held it between two fingers like it had cooties. Give that back, I said through gritted teeth. I lunged for it, but she took a few steps out of my reach. Is this still a diary? She asked. It's so cute. I jumped out of my seat and grabbed for the zine again. Selena shot me a wicked grin and held the zine behind her back. If you don't give that back to me, you're going to be sorry, I warned. Hey, algún problema? Senor Asensio asked, looking over in our direction. Selena tossed the zine back onto my desk. No, Senor Asensio, she said sweetly. You shouldn't leave your diary laying around, Maria Luisa, Selena said. She shot daggers at me with her eyes. I gave her the evil eye right back and gathered my things quickly before she had a chance to grab anything else. Don't touch my things again. My ears burned even more. Or what? Selena asked. She waited a few seconds before walking away. I really didn't know what I would do. I could remember having had an enemy since kindergarten when Katie Austin took a crayon and drew mustaches on all the pictures of Grandma Beetle in my copy of Just a Minute. I was so mad I tattled on her when I saw her take 2 graham crackers during snack time. But that was as far as our feud went. At least then I knew what we were fighting about. But with Selena, it wasn't as easy as crayons and graham crackers. I didn't know what I'd done to make her not like me. That's kind of a couple short chapters. I'm going to keep reading. Chapter 11. Hey, will you sign my petition? My language arts class had library orientation, and in the last few minutes we got to check out books from Mr. Baca, our school librarian. I stood in line at the circulation counter, waiting my turn. The girl who spoke to me held a clipboard and wore a serious expression. She had a face full of freckles and the reddest hair I'd ever seen, pulled up into a sloppy, lopsided bun on top of her head. The girl's jacket, an old army one, was covered in pins and patches. There was a rainbow flag, a peace sign, and a pin that said, I read banned books. What's it for? I asked, sliding my book further down the circulation counter. She moved along with me. Better choices in the cafeteria, she said, putting the clipboard on the counter next to me. Do we want another school year of lukewarm mac and cheese and oversteamed veggies? Don't forget the unidentifiable blobs, I added. Exactly, she said, holding a pen out to me. You know what I'm talking about. I took the pen and signed my name on the next available line. She'd only gotten 8 signatures. How many do you need? I asked, tapping the petition. Mr. Jackson said I should get as many as I can. No max, but I'm aiming for at least 100. We've got a ways to go, I said. Don't I know it? I'm Ellie, by the way. Her serious look softened with a smile. I'm Malu, I said. I'm sure you'll get excuse me. I'm sure you'll get plenty of signatures. It is school lunch we're talking about. I think so too, Ellie said. So do these petitions really work? It doesn't hurt to try, Ellie said. My grandma's an old activist, and she always says to me that it's important for us kids to have a voice. Plus, being involved in school looks good on college applications, right? I nodded, even though I had no idea what she was talking about. We were in the 7th grade, and I wasn't exactly thinking about college yet. You should make a petition for a less strict dress code, I said. I'd sign that. Not a bad idea, Ellie said. But one petition at a time. Next up is a petition to get a daily 15-minute break in the morning. So our brains can refresh themselves between classes. That sounds like a good idea, I said. Anyway, I should probably grab a few more signatures before the bell rings, Ellie said, adjusting her backpack. All right, everyone, it's about that time, Mr. Becca called from behind the circulation desk, pointing at the clock. My first week of school was over, and that meant about 103 weeks to go. But who's counting? Be sure to grab the flyer for our fall fiesta on your way out, he pointed to a stack of green papers on the counter. It's got the talent show audition date and the art show deadline, so if you're interested in either of those, you should give it a read. Thanks again, Ellie said, waving her clipboard. Sure, good luck, I watched as she walked up to another girl in our class, her red bun shaking and threatening to topple over as she talked enthusiastically about cafeteria food. Maybe not everyone at Posada was so bad after all. Whew, well, I can tell you one thing. I do not like Selena. She's ooh. But you know what? People act like that for a reason. And we'll find out what, but maybe she's got a bad home life or who knows. But people usually act like that because they have something wrong. In my experience, anyway.